Good evening. I'm Sami Parvez. Today is Sunday, July 27th, 2025, and you are watching the Sami Parvez show. I'm joined by Michael Eras from Alberta and is a candidate for Libertarian Party of Canada. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm doing amazing, man. Thank you for inviting me onto the show. This is quite a pleasure.
It's my pleasure to, to having you here. So, can you please tell about yourself?
Well, my name is Michael Harris. I'm trying to run to be the member of parliament for the Battle River Crowfoot by-election. I believe personally that we need to have a third party candidate on this ballot. And that's what I'm trying to do. At the very bare minimum, I'm trying to make sure that people have an additional option for this campaign. Now, there's been a lot of people that are trying to put their names in for this election, put their names forward for this election. And really, they're not supporting the policies that are really affecting this riding. There's a lot of people, there's a very rural riding, I will say. There's a lot of people here that are farmers, ranchers, people who live in the oil patch, and a lot of policies that could be changed to help these people's lives are just simply being ignored. Like as an example, supply management is a very big issue where not a single other candidate besides me is talking about the issues of supply management, yet it affects every single person in the riding. So stuff like that. I want to make sure that the issues of the forefront of this election are brought forward.
Okay. So let's talk about, as you said, like there are many people who are not living in this riding. There are many are not living in the province either,
Yeah.
which is concerning and crazy. Like you can protest, but this it does not make any sense at all. Before going on that, can you please confirm? Do you live in the same riding, like Battle River, Crowfoot?
Yes. I live in the writing 50-50. I am a student at the University of Calgary, so I do spend most of my time during the regular years in the city of Calgary to study political science. However, my home's always been Drumheller. It's where I live, and I'll continue to live here for probably most of my life. So yes, I do live in the writing.
And why have you decided to run in this by-election?
Well, I think I already kind of slightly answered that in my
Hmm.
last couple answers, but the general idea is that we have a candidate that's coming in. We have actually quite a couple of candidates, as you said, coming in from Ontario, from Quebec, and they want to tell you how they're going to help the people of this riding, instead of actually listening to the policies that are actually affecting the people here. And that's the problem. And because of that, whoever does actually end up winning, if it's not me, they're good. People are gonna have a member of parliament or someone who doesn't even want to be a member of parliament run the show and not actually talk or represent the people on what they want to see done with their writing. And that's ridiculous in my opinion. That's why I want to put my name forward. Even at the end of the day, if I don't win, I want to make sure that whoever does become the member of parliament sure as hell knows that people are suffering in this writing and they need to make a freaking stand on it.
Okay, and let's talk about like, do you believe it was the right decision to force a or don't some people say he was not forced to out like, but Pierre Poulier needs a seat, so they need to figure out where he needs to run. So he decided this would be the one of the safest seat for the conservative. Do you think it is the right decision to ask a caucus member to resign so a leader could have a seat in the House of Commons, and which would cost taxpayers over $1 million?
Well, that's a pretty long question, so I'll try to answer best I can. I think it's a bad idea because number one, as a resident of this riding, the problem is that we're not going to have an MP if he wins. If Pierre Poilievre wins as an example, he's not running to be our member of parliament. He's running to be our prime minister. And that's good for him if that's what he's wanting to do. But that means that we lack the representation that every other riding would get. And when we're living in a place where I talked to some people in Three Hills where, they're losing their livelihoods, they're losing their house, they're losing their farmland, and they're a couple of months and or years away from losing that. Action needs to happen now, not in 2029. So whoever does end up winning, sure as hell needs to advocate for that. And in my opinion, kicking out someone who was very strongly elected in the 2025 federal election just to have him removed the day he was sworn in my opinion, is a very, very bad look. And so I mean, I just disagree with it in general because I'm not conservative. So, but yeah, we want to see something done. And in my opinion, it was a bad idea. And if Pierre Poilievre can't get more than, I don't know, 70% of the vote, I don't think he's gonna be a leader, our leader anyways of the party. So come January. So it won't even matter anyways.
Can you please little bit talk about your party, Libertarian Party of Canada? What are its goals and aims? What are your like right now campaign messages?
Yeah. So we've been a party that's been around since 1973, which has advocated for the individual. We basically believe that the government shouldn't be a nanny state, that you are an adult, you are in control of your own life, and as long as you don't hurt other people, that you should be entitled to your own opinions and your own bodily autonomy. Now, this means also removing taxes, making sure that you are able to, if you own a business, to be able to produce what you want to produce and that you are not restricted. We have a lot of farmers right now that are having to deal with supply management, which means that your food prices go up and that you are also being treated fairly as well too. There's a very big issue of equalization for the Western provinces here where we pay money to the Eastern governments and we don't see a cent of that returned back. And so a lot of people feel that that's unfair. They're paying taxes. They want to get the benefits out of paying those taxes, not just being handed to people. And so we want to make sure that at the end of the day, the individual is, kept safe and their liberties are secured. And that's what we're trying to run on for this campaign.
Okay, and can you please talk more about like supply? Like, I'm coming back to supply management, but I'm going to ask you. You said we need to your party aim to remove the taxes. There should be no taxes at all, or there should be a minimum amount of taxes, or it
Well, I
depends.
mean, were you asking about the supply management part? Were you
No,
asking
so taxes. You said the your party aim is to remove the taxes. Does that
Yeah.
mean reduce the taxes or completely remove the taxes?
Well, our party's pretty big tent. We have a lot of classic liberals. We have libertarians like myself, and you also have anarcho-capitalists as well too in the party. So it's honestly it's dependent on who you're talking to. In most of my areas that I would say is that we just want taxes at the very bare minimum to be reduced. At the end of the day, a lot of people in this riding have paid an excruciating amount of taxes, and they haven't seen the benefits of those taxes. And I think people are entitled to see those benefits. A lot of these people in this riding have paid millions, if not billions of dollars into the tax returns or their income tax, and they are left with crumbling roads, crumbling infrastructure, which is hurting the people of my riding. So yeah, I 100% believe that they need to be compensated, but that means that we need to lower taxes to the level that we're not overly spending either. We don't want the government to have to, print a whole lot of money or have to bring out bonds to pay for those programs. We want to make sure that there's an even level where taxes are going down and spending is going down. So there's an equilibrium. And if we can get that to as close as we can to zero, then I'd be a happy man.
Hmm. Okay, let's talk about supply management. You said the riding you live, most of the people are farmers. So what is
Yeah.
all about? What is supply management, and what reform should be brought in on supply management?
Well, it probably require a little bit of time to talk about fully what supply management is, but basically it's this. The government has a self-imposed quota they put on ranchers that produce milk, poultry, eggs, and you have to buy into that quota. And if you don't have the money to buy into that quota, then you are limited on the amount of of those products that you're allowed to produce every single month. And that's a very big issue because if you're a poor farmer or if you're someone who doesn't own a lot of land, or even if you do own a lot of land and you're not able to get your quota expanded, then that means you're limited on your production. Even if you have 100 cows, if you don't have a proper quota, you're only going to be able to milk five of those. And that's a big issue, especially in Three Hills, like I said, where I had a guy tell me that he had to dump almost 800 liters of milk just because the government wouldn't increase his quota, which is completely unfair. It's not unfair, it's completely unfair to both the farmers that are actually producing the goods and also the consumers that, if I want cheaper milk or if I want cheaper eggs, well, that's not going to happen because we have an artificial scarcity that's caused by the federal government. And the only reason why this whole policy of supply management is beneficial in the first place is to benefit the big Quebec farmers out east. as they stand to benefit most from that arrangement. Not the newer farmers, not the smaller farmers here in Alberta. Well, they're left behind. The big farmers get a bonus, and that's not what we want.
Okay, just to understand clearly, that it means there are quotas. You can produce this much, and if you produce more than that, you need to dump it. I think
Yeah,
there
you,
was a
you get a
video.
fine if you don't dump it. If you get caught, it's almost a
Yeah.
$10,000 fine per
Wow.
liter, which is a lot. So
Yeah, I think there was a video like viral on social media where someone talking about dumping those milks. I remember back in during COVID also there was a video like I think it was from Saskatchewan or somewhere. I
yeah.
mean, this is crazy, and that's why
Well, it
the
happens every
price.
day. It happens every day.
Yeah,
Like
I
this
do
isn't just
understand.
something that happens once or twice. Like there are
Hmm.
thousands of farmers across this country, and if you know you can't a cow can't control how much milk is coming out of its udder, and
Yeah.
if it produces too much, well, it sucks. It's going down the drain.
If we would increase the quota or the production, so it means the price will go down, right now we are
Yeah.
paying like $9 for 30 eggs.
Yeah.
So it would be $6, right now we're paying like five, $5, I think $6, 6.25 here in Ontario for 4 liter
Yeah.
milk. So it means the price could go down if we
Well,
increase the production.
it's basic supply and demand. If you have so much demand where you have all these newcomers that are coming into the country, of the
Yeah.
people who are living in the country that want access to these goods, and the supply is down here, then the price is going to go up.
Hmm.
And that's the problem. And if you have all these people, you need to have more food to off balance the demand. And so, as more supply is increased, the demand is obviously lower, and vice versa, the prices are cheaper. And at the time we have right now, our prices are artificially high because the cap won't let this bar get any higher than it currently is, unless the government says, "Oh, we'll increase it a little bit this year. Oh, we'll increase it this year. Oh, no, actually, we're going back down here." Like that's an unfair system, which makes it so both the consumers and the producers are hurt. It just makes no sense.
Hmm. And as you mentioned, like the eastern farmer, like Quebec and Ontarians, are not much affected as Alberta. So why
Yeah.
are they not affected? Are they going to get some money or like something from the government or subsidies?
So, well, I mean, some of them do get subsidies, but the main issue is that they actually benefit from the higher prices. So they are bigger farmers that can afford to obviously get a bigger quota or to lobby the federal government
Mhm.
to increase for the province of Quebec a bigger quota, and not the other provinces, just Quebec. And so if the prices of milk or eggs or any of these poultry items are higher, well, that means they can sell it for a higher price. Well, let's excuse all the people in Alberta that are able to do it for cheaper. Now you've put a muzzle on literally all the competition in across Canada because they are able to produce more in Quebec and at the same time sell it for a higher price because the competition can't compete. That's what they benefit from it. They get better deals and they're able to have a monopoly on the dairy industry because, well, out here out west, we can't compete with them because they get an advantage in supply management. That's the problem. And they gain more money from that. And the government knows that because that's what they've been lobbied for like the last 40 odd years. So they know it and they won't get rid of it.
Mhm. If you don't mind, if I may ask you frankly, what is the price of like 4 liter milk and 30 eggs in your area?
Well, I mean, mine's gonna probably gonna be a little higher because we outlive on the rural area. It has to get shipped out here anyways. To my knowledge, in Calgary, it was $6 just a little while ago. And here in Drumheller, depending on the store you go to, it can be about $7 to about 8.30 per liter.
Wow.
So it can get pretty expensive depending on where you're at. And the most expensive I've found so far was the city of Hannah, or I guess the town of Hannah, where it was about $11.
Wow.
So it can get pretty expensive depending on how far out you get away from civilization out here in this riding.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's come back to our topic. So, what would you do as an MP if you get elected for supply management?
Well, obviously, as one MP in one seat, I only get one vote. But the big issue is that all these MPs are getting lobbied by the dairy industry in Quebec. They're silent. They're not saying anything about this issue. You need someone who is not going to be held back by a party whip to go into the House of Commons and to go on that hill to put a bill to Parliament to say we're going to get rid of supply management and to call out every single Western MP and every single Ontarian MP that says that they're, supporting their people, supporting rural Canadians, and yet explain why you're voting yes to keep it aligned, keep it alive. So at the very bare minimum, obviously, if I do win, I can't just immediately get rid of supply management. I'm only one man. But at the very minimum, we want someone who can actually go out there and pressure the government and keep putting pressure on them until they do something about it. And worst case scenario, if we can't succeed in that goal, we're going to expose those politicians who claim to be our representatives but not actually fight for us.
Hmm. Yeah, and as you like already talked about it, but I may ask you like, oh, do you have any idea if you win, like what would be the first motion you would propose as a private member bill?
Well, no, supply man. I've already promised that supply management will be the first thing on my agenda. It is, after all, the majority of the people in this riding are ranchers. They're suffering from it. It needs to be brought to Parliament as soon as possible. That can't wait. But some other things that are need to be done before my constituency can be set up is to first I need to be able to set up a constituency office. My party does not have one in this riding. And also, I plan to not take a wage from this government job as well too. I'm doing this completely for free for voluntary reasons. So if I do get elected, I would either refuse a wage from the federal government, or if I can't, I will be donating all of my money back into the riding every single month. Because I don't believe that politicians should be paid off by the taxpayers. It should be a voluntary thing to be our representative, not a job, not a career, and certainly not something that they can be parasites with.
Wow, that's great. You, I think you are the first person who thinks like that a politician does not need money. You know, like most of the politicians are running for the office just to have a good paycheck.
I've always joked that the politicians should get paid the same amount as the average medium income of their citizens. And at this current moment, the average politician in the House of Commons gets paid almost 4 times the average Canadian.
Yep.
If you're just a regular MP, you get almost $250,000 per year. If you work as a cabinet member or the prime minister or someone who, gets works very well within the party, then that's four additional wages. You get your MP wage, your party wage,
Yep.
you get your caucus wage, and if you're the member, or if you're the PM, you get your prime minister wage. And on top of that, you're almost getting paid almost $1 million per year, and that's I'm sorry for someone who just sits in a chair all day, that's way too much money.
So, like, what are your thoughts on the cost of living and housing crisis? So, who do you think responsible for the? Is it the government or the people?
Well, I think it's predominantly the government in a lot of cases, or whether, like I was saying, whether it be the price of food, it's not just supply management that screws with a lot of stuff. There's also a lot of taxes on the production of stuff here in Canada, while there isn't taxes on imported goods. There's an issue where, there's not enough staff to be able to get through paperwork. And so if you're wanting to apply for a visa or a permit, well, you best get in line and wait for 2 years, which slows, like I said, slows that supply. If you're not having more housing being built every single year, but you have more people living in the country, housing prices are going to go up. And that's a very big issue where government is regulating all of our daily lives. And at some point along that line, it's affecting our cost of living, whether it be increasing inflation, meaning that your dollar is worth less, or making it so that the economy can't actually grow because of the restrictions it puts on the economy, then that's just going to hurt everybody. I'm sure there's other issues, like there's obviously people that uh, don't actually sell their housing. There's
Yep.
people that hold on to it. There are issues that are like that, but predominantly more than 75% of the issues that we're facing for the affordability crisis are the direct result of the federal government or the failures of the federal government.
So, do you have any platform on the immigration? Like, there are some parties are calling, even though Pierre Pouliot is now calling to cap the immigration. So, where does your platform or your party platform stands on immigration? Do we need more immigrants, or should we cap on it?
Well, I think if I was to speak for my party is obviously very pro-immigration. They believe that as long as anybody that is willing to come here legally, they should be able to make a home here in Canada. However, believe that the issue should be brought to the provincial level. Quebec has for the longest time been able to control its own immigration and been able to restrict who is not a citizen of Quebec. And I believe Alberta is entitled to that same right and that same, ability to do that. So I differ a little bit of ways from my libertarian counterparts out east. Like I said, I believe that it should be a provincial matter, not a federal matter.
Hmm. And there is a movement of Alberta independence. So, where do you stand as an Albertan? Do you support this movement or are you against of it?
So our party has always believed in self-determination. People have the right to control where they live, what their land is, what it's like, everything. I believe that's the same thing for Quebec, same thing here for Alberta. If they want to have a referendum on independence, they should be allowed to do it. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily in favor of it or against it. It just means that I believe people should have that right to be able to have that discussion and make that decision for themselves. We have a lot of politicians, obviously, they're very much against it and are trying to say that, it's dangerous. You can't have that talk. Well, at the same time, we live in a confederation. That decision should come up to the provinces and the people, not the state.
Hmm. And if there would be a vote in the House of Commons and if you would get elected, so how would you vote?
Sorry?
Like if you get elected as an MP and if there would be a vote in the House for Alberta separation, so how would you vote? Do you vote in the favor or against of it?
Well, I don't think that's an issue that we brought to the House of Commons. I'm just speaking realistically terms here. This would be something that would probably go through a referendum. We brought to the premier. The premier agrees with it, and then the premier would act on behalf of the province and speak to the federal government. Most likely, those problems will probably be hashed out behind closed doors. However, like I said, if a referendum was to say be held today, and it would be overwhelmingly decided for a yes or a no, I would vote accordingly with the people of my riding. So if the answer was yes, then you'd get a yes from me. If the answer was no, then that means you'd get a no from me. I'm not here to tell people what to do. I'm not here to basically control people and say, nope, you have to follow me with this. No, I'm here to listen to you. And if you have something to say, I want to hear it. I want to be a representative. I'm not a dictator, man. I'm a representative. That's what I'm here for.
Wow. And so like are you hearing anything about Alberta independence from particularly from your own riding, what the constituents are talking about?
Well, surprisingly, quite a bit. A lot of people are actually in favor of Albertan independence. Predominantly, the more rural you go, you'll find more people that are in favor of it. I'd say a good 70% have, at least at bare minimum, said that we need a referendum on Albertan independence. So I'd say it's definitely high in this riding, especially in rural Alberta. So I wouldn't count it out for being a factor for this election.
Mhm. And let's talk about this longest ballot protest, which could cost your some votes because as we're talking, I said like there are so far for today, according to Election Canada website, there are a total of 209 candidates, and out of them, like 199 are from longest ballot committee.
Yeah.
So, how much this is affecting you as a candidate from a small party? Like you could
Yeah.
get some vote is like based on the numbers. So, how do you see how much would it affect you?
Well, like I said, if anybody's willing to be able to get 100 signatures, able to fill out the paperwork, if anyone's wanting to put themselves forward, they should be allowed to be able to run in this election. I believe in democracy, and I believe people are allowed to voice their opinions on stuff. However, I've had quite a negative opinion of the longest ballot committee so far. I don't think they've acted in a very cordial matters. I don't think they've been very respectful to me or my campaign team. Uh, Especially the inclination that a lot of these people are running as like joke candidates. There's a lot of like rhino candidates that are running as independents in this election. It makes anybody who's not part of a big party look like a joke. And I've had to deal with this quite a bit at the doors. Like if you go to an area where no one knows who you are, I'm pretty only well known in Drumheller. If I go outside of Drumheller, not many people know me. And so if I'm trying to introduce myself to them, and say, I'm not with Pierre, I'm not with Darcy, I'm not with Bonnie, they're gonna think, oh, he's part of the longest ballot committee. He must be someone who's trying to split the vote. And that's not what I'm trying to do. And that's the problem. It caused a lot of them running in this election has caused a lot of stigma around this by-election. And that makes it so if anybody who's not part of the main party groups is basically just treated as a joke and they're not actually running a serious campaign, which is completely untrue. I know many other people, including some of my opponents, that are putting in quite a lot of work and a lot of effort into this election, and they should be treated just as much as respect as anybody else is willing to actually put effort into their campaign.
And do you support this? They are protesting for past pa- past post ballot. Like there should be a electoral reform. So do you support an electoral reform?
Yeah, they want to get rid of the first
Yeah,
past the
past.
post system, right?
Yes.
I honestly I couldn't tell you, man. I don't think it would be any difference if that we would see any difference if it was ranked ballot because at that point you would probably just have the bigger parties take over anyways because everyone would just put that name and then all the smaller parties would just get written off because they wouldn't get enough people at number one. So if you ask me from a third party perspective, it probably actually hurt smaller parties because it would just drown out anybody that isn't really well known. And I believe people, like I said, anybody that's willing to put themselves forward should be able to have that chance to speak. And I don't think our changing our system would really, I haven't heard too many benefits that would actually help our electoral system if they change it. I know there needs to be reform with Elections Canada, especially with these guys running. They're exposing a lot of the issues with Elections Canada. 100% there needs to be reform in that area. But changing how we do elections, like I said, maybe I just got to be a little bit more educated. But for me, I don't see much of a benefit of change.
And should we also change the rules for an Ontarian is running in the in Alberta? Like he's not a resident, so like on that riding at all. Neither
Oh,
on the province level. As Pierre Poulier lost his seat and he is running in there in Alberta. Should we have some changes like that as well to make it mandatory and make it more tough? It should not happen in future such thing.
yeah, 100%. Like I said, I'm wanting to have a representative that knows the people, lives with the people, and is going to represent the people. And if you have someone who's not even doesn't even live in the province, doesn't live in the riding, doesn't even bother to come here to speak with the people, then yeah, you should be thrown out. Like I'm sorry, like you're not running a serious campaign,
Mhm.
man.
Yep.
And that should apply to anybody. Like it's if you live in a community, you should represent that community. Why are you coming over from halfway across the country to, say that I want to represent you when you don't know the damnedest thing about the people living here? Doesn't make sense. I agree. That's one way I think that people they could fix this issue. Number two, I think a simple issue of making it so other candidates can't sign other people's forms. If I was running as I am as a candidate for this by-election, I could have signed any one of those other people's signature sheets. And that's a problem when you have, like I said, 200 people on this list now,
Yep.
where they all could have just signed each other's list, and suddenly
Mhm.
now you have boom, 200 people that are on the ballot. And any new person that wants to join up, they can just print, copy, give it to
Mhm.
the next person. Suddenly you have 200 people running with only 200 actual people putting their names as signatures, which once again looks completely dishonest in my opinion. And the fact that that's legal should not be a thing. It should be if you sign a person's piece of paper to put your signature down to endorse a candidate, you cannot endorse another candidate until another election pops up with your riding.
Mhm.
That's how I think it should be, and I think it
Yep.
would solve a lot of issues.
I fully agree with you. Like there should be some changes like that. And let's talk about media. Do you think media is playing a role to giving more coverage to this big tent party and ignoring the Semal party? What was just I need to ask you first of all, were you interviewed by any media so far?
No, not like I've had a lot of podcasters. I've had like people like such as yourself or independent media, like people who like own private businesses or small media outlets here in the riding. They've done some pieces on me and they're out there. However, there has been a bit of a disparity where I feel like the bigger media like CBC or like
Hmm.
CTV have only really been covering Bonnie's and Pierre's campaign while completely ignoring the probably other six other party candidates that are on the ground every single day putting in the effort. And I think that's completely unfair. I've put in as just as much, if not more, effort than Bonnie, and we have barely gotten any screen time because of that. There's sometimes occasionally, me and the other guys will get like a statement. Like I'll be asked by like what is it like Juno News as an example for a statement on something,
Yeah.
and then that'll just be it. They'll ask for like a sentence, but no actual interviews, no actual points, and yeah, it's just unfair in my opinion.
And do you believe the mainstream media is biased?
Though, sorry.
The main mean the main the mainstream media is biased.
Well, of course they are. There's a lot of like, especially in Canada, where most of our mainstream media is either subsidized or owned by the federal government. And when you put subsidies on something like that, like you're gonna get biasness, no matter how much they slap the word nonpartisan on there. You're going to get people that are obviously going to be more favored to some other areas. If you give money to someone, well, they're more likely to probably cover a little bit more of your content because you don't want that money to get shut off. At the bare minimum, I think there's 100% of bias. I don't know if it's full on to the level of fake news to support your opponent yet. I don't know if we've gone to that far with our media, but if you think that there's an area where if you have more money, you're going to get more coverage, 100%. And that's the bias that we're seeing here, especially in this by-election.
Okay. And what's your message to your constituents, or what's your message to the riding of Battle River Crowfoot? Why should they vote for you in this by-election?
If you want a candidate that's actually going to advocate for the ideas of liberty, individual sovereignty, the right that you can own a business and control it without government jurisdiction and controlling, saying you are not allowed to produce what you want to produce, then here is a representative who's been living in the riding for his entire life, who's willing to fight for you, willing to knock on every single door in, minus-degree weather when it's raining, and is able to pressure people, bring your issues, and not have a second thought about taking your concerns and bringing it to the federal government on your behalf.
Okay, Michael, thank you very much. Just last question. I ask every political candidate this question. Is right now you are running as a candidate for Libertarian Party of Canada, which is easier access to you because your party and yourself never held an office. So, can you please comment, if you get elected as an MP after this by-election, would you willing to appear on the Sami Parvez show again?
No, 100%, man. You know, no question.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael, again for your time, and wishing you very best on your election campaign. Looking forward to seeing you the next
Right?
MP for Better River Crowfoot riding on August 18th.
Thank you. Have a nice day, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.